Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Lynch. Thank you for your leadership, and my thanks to the Americans for the Arts for organizing this gathering and for all that you do in our country. You make a significant difference and certainly raise awareness about the vital economic role that the arts play in our national economy. And I'm delighted to be here to represent the U.S. Conference of Mayors this morning, and I'm proud of the resolution that Mr. Lynch referenced. The conference did unanimously adopt this resolution at our annual meeting just last month, calling for increased funding of the National Endowment for the Arts, the National Endowment for the Humanities, and the Institute of Museum and Library Services. And let me just quote one of our statements. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the United States Conference of Mayors reaffirms its support of the National Endowment for the Arts, National Endowment for the Humanities, and the Institute of Museum and Library Services, and calls upon Congress to support these agencies in the fiscal year 2018 federal appropriations bills at $155 million each for the NEA and NEH, and $240.9 million for museums and libraries at the IMLS to serve arts organizations of all sizes in communities across the country. Now, this unanimous adoption of the resolution by the U.S. Conference of Mayors demonstrates the strong bipartisan support for the arts at the local level. In addition, you just heard from Congressman Lance, who just spoke about the bipartisan support for the arts at the national level. Now, all of us recognize the obvious cultural benefits that funding for the arts provides, but today's focus is so important because it broadens the discussion to highlight the economic benefits that accrue from the arts as well. Now, the 2017 Arts and Economic Prosperity 5 study, conducted by the Americans for the Arts in partnership with the U.S. Conference of Mayors, provides an important tool for us to use as we discuss the national economic impact of the nonprofit arts and culture industry. And the U.S. Conference of Mayors resolution emphasizes the economic value of the arts as it states that, quote, federal arts funding leverages an average of more than 9 times in matching funds from state and local governments, private foundations, corporations, and individuals. And Congressman Lance just mentioned that as well. Now, I can't imagine anyone going to Wall Street and turning down an investment that gets you 9 times the results in return on investment. So that kind of ROI we need to emphasize all across the country. And as the mayor of Alexandria, Virginia, a beloved historic city of 150,000 people right down the road, as Mr. Lynch mentioned, I want to stress that this federal funding for the arts is crucial to our nation's cities. Alexandria, I'm proud to say, is an arts destination city. The arts in Alexandria support more than 2,600 full-time employees and generate at least $3.8 million in local taxes. But if you include the state taxes, it's not just $3.8 million, that's the local. $7.5 million in local and state taxes. That's a lot of revenue for the state or the Commonwealth of Virginia, I should say, and the city of Alexandria. And we are so proud in Alexandria of our Torpedo Factory Arts Center, which is a phenomenal success story of the conversion of a World War II torpedo factory into an internationally known arts center that supports more than 150 artists and arts organizations. In my mayoral office, I have a rotating display of paintings from artists who have their work at the Torpedo Factory, and I'm very proud of that. In addition to the Torpedo Factory, which has, of course, received funding through the years, I'm sure, from these sources we're trying to support today. In addition to that, the Alexandria is home to the Alexandria Symphony Orchestra, which is at least 70 years going strong, the Art League, which is incredible, and Metro Stage, just to name a few of the arts organizations that are outstanding in the city of Alexandria. And so when people come to the Torpedo Factory in Old Town Alexandria, or if they go to the theater, they spend money in our restaurants and other venues. And so the cumulative economic benefit far exceeds what they might spend for a particular event. Now, this same scenario is replicated each day in communities all across our country. So and also I want to mention that when it comes to the arts, our Washington, Alexandria, Arlington whole region was ranked first among large metropolitan areas as the most arts vibrant community in the country by the National Center for Arts Research. So we're very proud of that. Now this place is our area, just ahead of New York, San Francisco, and LA. Not that we're being competitive. So I stand here today also, not just as the mayor, frankly, but also, as Mr. Lynch mentioned, as someone who has participated in the arts for my adult life. I earned my MFA in playwriting from UCLA's School of Theater, Film, and Television. Very proud of that. And in the mid-'90s, I started a nonprofit right here in this region called Lights, Camera, Action. And it was a nonprofit that used film to help youth in Anacostia, help them realize their potential through film. So that's amazing when you think about it. It was at the height of the crack wars in Anacostia. And 7 out of 8 of my participants in Lights, Camera, Action went on to college. We also participated together in creating an award-winning film that's aired on local PBS stations dozens of times here in the region. And the reason this is such a telling example of an arts supported entity is because I received a small NEA grant. And that small NEA grant was huge to me because I was able to leverage that to all the donors. And they said, oh my gosh, you got an NEA grant. We're giving you, $500 or $1,000. So it just mushroomed. And it gave me confidence to go on and to help these kids. And that's what we want, because those kids went on to college, and it gave them a chance to be exposed to the arts and to participate in it, even if they didn't go into the arts. So the consequences of federal funding is massive, not just for me and this tiny nonprofit that I ran, but also for Americans all across our country as they go to museums, libraries, theater, to places like the Torpedo Factory. Tens of millions of Americans depend upon our libraries to have access to reading materials and research, to go to museums, to see art that they otherwise would never see. That's the role of public art. It's critical. And that's all thanks to funding for the arts from organizations like the NEA and NEH. And I also want to mention that the NEA and NEH provide crucial funding for PBS, for performing arts in large and small theaters and arts programs for children all across our country. If a child is exposed to the arts, then it can spark interest that can last a lifetime and inspire that child to become a writer, a photographer, choreographer, painter, filmmaker, or just to appreciate the arts and to support it as they go on through life. So I really want to thank the U.S. Conference of Mayors for leading the charge with regard to this resolution, and I'm proud to stand with them. And one of the points in their statement, and that I'm very proud to have signed on to, is the U.S. Conference of Mayors urges the federal government to invest in nonprofit arts organizations through local arts agencies as a catalyst to generate economic impact, create jobs, stimulate business development, spur urban renewal, attract tourists and area residents to community activities, and to improve the overall quality of life in America's cities. And personally, I cannot think of a better way for us to spend our tax dollars. And when you think about the return on investment, it's unbelievable. And these numbers are really just the tip of the iceberg when you think about it. So this is critical to our country, critical to each community, and so I urge the Congress to support increased funding. Thank you so much.